Good evening, guys. Guess what? It's Tuesday, January 18th, 2011, and this is Day 9 Daily number 242. I'm in a good mood because yesterday was Fun Day Monday, a show that went so well. It was of epic proportions, unparalleled in all creation, and it's up on the archives, so watch it. Today is Newbie Tuesday, where we go back to a little bit more of the basic good old stuff. And we're going to be talking about a Zerg vs. Zerg build in just a minute. However, I needed to introduce to you something that I'm sure many of you have heard of, but if you haven't, it's actually not how I have never lost a round of text twist in my entire life. It is about the Kingston HyperX Pro for a Day contest. The way it works is that there's a whole bunch of competitions running throughout the next 8 weeks, or I guess the next 6 weeks, since this is like week 3 right now, where you submit all sorts of general contributions to facebook.com/hyperxcommunity. I'll even reveal it again. See that? facebook.com/hyperxcommunity. And the competition changes from week to week, but every week we end up choosing a winner. And those winners have a chance to win a day with me and In Control at at the Penny Arcade Expo at PAX. That's right. It's going to be awesome. You and In Control are going to high-five each other and you if you win. Last week's was, the first one was all about Day 9. Do your favorite Day 9 fan art. And the winner has just been selected by the community. The winner is this wonderful speed drawing by Korea Sun. That is right, Korea Sun. Big congrats on your win. You will be winning yourself some fancy Kingston gear. And in addition, as we close this overlay ad, I just want to point out how unbelievably subtle a lot of the elements were. We got Manfred in there. We got my glasses up there that are broken. There's even a shirt. I got my jacket there. There's Winnie the Pooh. Great. I love Winnie the Pooh. I mean, a lot of excellent reasons why it was won. So what is going on this week is we're now seeing the finalists selected for Week 2. Week 2 is all about your EG In Control and EG Idra fan art. For instance, let's take a look at some of those. This was a sculpture done by someone. Look at this. It's a 2-foot by 3-foot sculpture. You can even see the depth there. It says In Control. There's... here's one of them as well. We got some comic books. Fantastic. We always love comic book art in Day 9 land. This is a drawing. This is not a photo. This is a drawing. And of course, we got some nice battlage going on. That's just a sampling of the ones that are up there. Those were the Week 2 finalists. Go to facebook.com/hyperxcommunity and vote. And then that winner will be announced the following week. For this week, any of you interested in submitting, Week 3 is all about you guys submitting your favorite video or photograph or sound of you doing your favorite unit impersonation. Do a unit impersonation, go to facebook.com/hyperxcommunity and upload it so it can win. That's it. I think that's all the Kingston-related type stuff. Let me go ahead and crack my neck. Dear good old Firefox, see you later. Welcome to my left monitor where I don't even pay attention to you. Focus is now on you. Ladies and gents, it's time for you to learn about build orders. So today, we're talking about the build order that was presented in Day 9 Daily number 235. I was out of town at CES, not only doing booth work, there we go, but also getting extremely sick. And that pre-recorded daily was pretty short. It was about a new, cute, easy way to play Zerg vs. Zerg that I like quite a bit. First, I'm going to just describe the build, and then I'm going to re-describe it in the context that I think is so important. It's so important to state the build the correct way, because too often people just think a build order is a list of instructions. I'll ask people like, so what did you do in the game? What was your plan? And people will say something like, well, I went gas 14, pool 14, then I put guys in gas, and then I built a queen, and I built some zerglings. So you're telling me what? But I want you to say something like, I'm trying to kill him with mutalisks and expand at the same time. Like that is much more what I like. So here's the basic build, right? Here's the basic build. We're actually going to watch me do it. in a very explicit fashion as I exit out of these replays. We're actually going to be watching a lot of replays today. We're going to be watching tons of replays, probably around 8 or 9, not including me just executing this build. Come on, little circle of death. Come on, execute it. So I'm first going to be talking through it while apparently it takes a million years to load. I'm going to choose Xel'Naga Caverns for the pure and simple reason that I did not choose Xel'Naga Caverns. All right, well, whatever. Let's go ahead and set to the fastest speed, AI. Doesn't matter what map we're on, we're just going to go ahead and pop right into a game and see this build in a Zerg vs. Zerg. You're going to see me play this really slowly. This is a Zerg vs. Zerg build. Play it out really slowly and say everything as I'm doing it. So we're going to go in, we're going to see this build order. I'm going to first describe it very simple. I am going to be getting... Alright, cool. Let's send this away. I kind of hate that the geysers, for some reason, are like 50 million feet away from me. I don't know exactly why the map designer was like, put a geyser far away, that'll be cool, that'll be sophisticated, right? I think that's pretty fancy. And of course, I don't rally a drone. I'm so awesome. So the build is going to be, I'm going to use roaches to stay alive in Zerg vs. Zerg until I can get my layer tech up, and the layer is going to be my playground. That's the way I stated it in the 235th episode. The layer is going to be my playground. Now, I intentionally built up to 10 drones. I'm going to make an Overlord on 10. Some people like Overlord on 9. I'm just going to do an Overlord on 10 and an Extractor trick because I don't actually know which one's better. A lot of the Koreans do the Extractor trick. A lot of the Europeans and Americans do the Overlord on 9. I'm just going to do it for no real reason. The important thing is that you keep making drones until you hit around 14 or 15 food. I'm going to go ahead and go up to around 15. Getting close to there. I could build an extractor right now. I'm not quite going to. Now I'm going to build the extractor. And what you're going to end up doing in this build order is you're going to go for a gas first and then for a pool. Might seem a little bit unusual considering I just said that this is a roach play. But we'll see why later on. I'm going to build my spawning pool after that on 14. I'm going to rewatch this replay in just a minute. I'm going to rewatch this replay after it's finished, right? I'm going to rewatch it. And we're going to do a lot more explaining of the why in this little build order context. Now, I'll tell you right now, you don't really need to begin saving up that much larva. A lot of times people will save up 3 larvae no matter what. We're not actually going to do that in this play. We're going to be going ahead and waiting to build maybe 1 Zergling or something like that. And our real true goal is to get our good old Roach Warren up as fast as possible. I'm actually about halfway done with the basic framework of the build. I just want to make sure everyone clearly sees exactly what's going on. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to build another Roach Warren. I'm going to build it right here. I'm going to build a queen's nest. Or excuse me, a queen. Whoops, wrong game. And now I'm going to go right on back to making drones. And I'm going to continue doing this. Again, I wish that my geyser wasn't a million miles away. And at this point, I just want to note, part of the reason why I'm only building 2 Zerglings is that my queen is going to pop out in time. And 2 Zerglings plus a queen can hold off quite a significant amount of stuff. As my Roach Warren is getting a little bit close to finished, I'm going to be adding on another geyser. Notice how I said that. As my Roach Warren is getting a little bit close to finished, I'm going to be adding on another geyser. The queen finishes around the same time as the Roach Warren. We're going to go ahead and make 2 roaches and pop out this layer as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and move my little Zerglings back here, and I'm going to go ahead and put my queen somewhere around here. Now, ordinarily, I would put a lot more guys in gas, or I would only put 3 in guys in gas. On this map, I have to put a ton in because it's so far away. We're actually not even going to worry about it that much. I'm going to be planting these roaches in fairly specific locations. If I saw him making a lot of Zerglings, I would make more roaches. If I lose my Overlord, I am going to scream. Alright, that looks like a scream is incoming. That's fine. I'll just be supply blocked because you know what? That is the basic framework of the build. Wow, only 5 minutes in. Okay, cool. You just saw me do a what, right? You just saw me do a what. This is what the basic structure of the build order is when I build this. Okay, so now you've seen it. So for any of you who did not watch the Day 9 Daily number 235, you now know the focus of today's topic. Let's talk about build orders, right? How the hell do we think about a build order? A build order first begins with some plan or some goal, and then it turns into you figuring out the best way to satisfy that. And then as you try to figure out more and more and more your problems and throw them out of the way, then over time you craft it into a very finely timed, well-executed script that looks something like this. You end up with something that's like, 14 gas, 14 pool, like 16 overlord. You end up with a script. This sort of thing, God, it's hard to do this with a webcam. This is not a build order. A build order is more about the strategy and the logic and the plan, not the menu list of everything that's there. So for instance, let's think about this Zerg vs. Zerg build that I'm going to do. All right, and everything we look at today is going to come back to this understanding of builds. My plan in Zerg vs. Zerg is to use the layer as my playground. The layer tech is my playground with overseers, roaches with speed and or burrow, spire tech, all those sorts of layer things. Maybe infestors or something like that. Just in general, the layer tech is my playground. I am going to get to layer tech, and I am going to abuse my opponent in whatever way best suits the purposes. If I don't want him making a lot of units, better get an Overseer out. If he doesn't seem to have a lot of anti-air, get some Mutalisk out. That's my plan, to use the layer tech as my playground. Okay? Cool. Layer tech is my playground. Layer tech is my playground. Now, what's my plan? Layer tech is my playground. I've said that so many times because often people do not have that goal. They will not say something like, I want to get a lot of Blink Stalkers and harass him while expanding. Use Blink Stalkers and harass him while I'm expanding. That's the crux of my strategies, using Blink Stalkers and harassing while expanding. You need to have some sort of statement like that. It doesn't have to be complicated. But no matter what build you're doing, no matter what style you're trying to mimic, make sure you can give a clear, concise statement of a general goal. I'm going to push with a bunch of Marines and Marauders, a bunch of tanks, and some medevacs. Great, that's fine, that's cool. That's a plan, right? I'm going to get 2 bases and attack with that sort of thing. That's a plan. So that's how I began the thought process to this build order. I thought, I really want to get a layer tech quickly and use that layer tech as my playground against the Zerg. Okay, so let's start to think about the problems that I would encounter. And as we load up this replay, we will see how those get solved. So if you're using layer tech as your playground, what does that mean? Layer tech requires a lot of gas. I guess I better get gas early. Okay, cool. I guess I actually better get 2 geysers kind of early because I want to make sure I have a lot of gas. I should be getting my layer kind of quickly. I also need a queen out. These are all sort of obvious things. And as I get into this game, I'm actually going to briefly pause it. And in playing around a little bit, I'm saying, okay, I need a lot of gas, I need a layer kind of fast. I'll mess things up. I'll naturally sort of say something like, I don't have enough minerals. Maybe I'm getting my gas too quickly. Or, I don't have a lot of gas. Maybe I'm getting my gas too late. And I'm sort of kind of hitting an equilibrium here. Everything I've said thus far has only been about, basically as if I was playing the game SimCity, and I get to build whatever I want. Through all of this, damn, there's an opponent who can kill me? How do I account for that? So that is the whole struggle. I need to get a lot of gas. I need to get my layer kind of fast. That seems like the real core of the build. That's pretty simple. I also need to not die. Alright, cool. So now we're going to start to see how this build order satisfies that, right? We're going to start to see how this build order satisfies those problems. I'm going to pause right before I build my spawning pool. So let's think about the obvious problem. I want to get my gas really early because I need to begin getting gas. So that way, when I get to my layer tech, which is again my playground, I will be able to afford all the wonderful webulous things that go on. Alright, so here we go, and it looks like we're going to have a gas geyser going down. Fantastic. This right here is to help me get my gas earlier. Okay, and then we're going to see me make a pool on 14. A pool on 14. Now, I have a question. Let's talk about timing. Why the pool on 14 and not the pool on 13? Why not the pool on 12 or something like that? Because I don't want to get it too early. That's about it. If I get it too early, then I get my queen and I can tech a little too quickly. I'm getting a Roach Warren when I have like 8 drones, and that's just not enough drones to do anything. Anytime you're feeling like you don't have enough money and you don't really have enough gas, generally that means that you're doing things a little too quickly. Just ease it up a little bit. Sometimes people underappreciate patience with their build and just very constant when you can afford it type things. I'm really building this spawning pool when I can afford it. So, okay, great. Now, let's talk about placement. Why is my spawning pool here? Why is my spawning pool here? The reason it's so tightly, closely packed next to my base is because over time I was realizing, sure, I can get roaches pretty early to help me stay alive, but I get surrounded and overrun by zerglings. But if I place all my buildings in a way that kind of helps me wall myself off, I can stay alive a little bit better. That is a very, very, very important thing to note, because if I can stay alive without changing anything except placement, then I can continue my build, cut off ways of losing, and I can not even adjust my knowledge base at all. All my practice will have helped. So here's a good little thing. There's my spawning pool going down. Putting guys in the gas geyser. You're seeing me build a Roach Warren right when this thing hatches. Right when this bad boy hatches. Here we go. Dum-da-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. All right, here comes the Roach Warren. Here it comes, here it comes. I should actually speed this up because I can see when I build the Roach Warren. Okay, there's the Roach Warren going down. Queen about to pop out. I can actually just tell you timing-wise, if you build one Zergling, or one set of Zerglings and a Queen, and then go back to drone production, you're fine. Just make sure you can build 2 Roaches right when that Roach Warren finishes. Against almost every early rush, you're pretty much impregnable. On this particular map, notice I'm still trying to constrict entrances here. On Xel'Naga Caverns, you can actually do very, very tight building placement and wall everything off. We're going to see that a lot in this opening stage, right? We're going to see a lot of this. I want to get my roaches out as fast as possible for defense. And there's the layer coming up, and the second guys are coming up, because again, I need a lot of gas, so I'm going to get my second gas around 20-ish. You're noticing I'm getting things pretty quickly. I'm getting a lot of drones, but I'm getting my Roach Warren right as my spawning pool finishes, and then getting my layer right when my queen ends up finishing. Great, cool. So, why did I spend so long doing that? Here is my build order. My goal, my strategy, my plan. Layer tech is my playground. I'm going to use my layer tech as my playground. This opening is me trying to figure out every possible way to not die so I can get to here, so I can get to my playground. That is what an opening is. Your opening is your way to dump into your plan the best possible way. So, for instance, when I tried this build, I tried to use Spinecrawler Zergling opening. So that way when I got to my lair, I could use that as my playground. Didn't like that. Sure, I didn't die very much, but you know what? When I got to the lair and I wanted to do something roach-ish, I had to build a Roach Warren. I had to wait around a little bit. Also, that Spinecrawler that I built early didn't really feel that useful. That opening, again, completely separate from my goal, completely separate from my playground, that opening wasn't working for me. So then I tried to do some plays where I early expanded again, and then I felt all this pressure. I felt like, I can't really attack. I need to make a lot of defense, and I actually ended up having a terrible economy because I was under such pressure all game long. I just couldn't get to my lair. This opening is something I found to be good, getting some roaches pretty fast while I tech pretty fast. Very simple. Very simple eventual solution on the opening. My overall strategy is not changing in all these test runs I'm doing. It's not changing at all. But let's look at some issues that can possibly happen with this. So I'm going to separate the idea of a build order from an opening, right? An opening, your overall build and your strategy versus your opening. So here we're gonna go. You'll notice that I have them split up into the build not being executed properly, early game considerations, late game considerations. Let's go to this early game one. Let's actually do. Here's a great one. Here's a very, very good one. This is something that will happen to a lot of people when they do a poorly executed opening. They will do a poorly executed opening. All right, so here's the enemy, Garbage, in the south position. Here's Shotomun, our Day 9 daily viewer, in the north position. Okay, cool. It looks like he's getting his gas a little bit too early. Can always feel a little bit of pressure to do that. It's not necessary. It's good to get a lot of drones. Great building placement. Great building placement. I see some people ending up building a spawning pool here. Why do I hate that? Well, if I have my queen, and my queen is here, picture the queen here on this screen. The queen has a spawning pool here. It has drones to the left. It has drones above. A queen here is well defended. But if the spawning pool is up there, the queen has this giant gaping hole where Zerglings can sprint up, surround her, and pick her off. Turtling. You want to have very tight building placement. So we're seeing Shotomun. I'm a little concerned. Actually, we'll go to the Shotomun cam. Here we go. I'm a little concerned because he has gotten this spawning pool a little bit early. He has a drone here. Don't like that. Kind of want to just sit back home and hang out and turtle. So here in the opening, there's a lot of little subtle things that I think that some of the, your silver level players won't really feel is a big deal. Like, oh, I have one drone at a watchtower. Yeah, I want to see if he's coming. Seems good. One drone not mining is a big deal. If I'm just sitting here, let's just think about the timing of the drone, all right? So it's sitting there. Okay, 5 minerals that drone could have mined just wasn't mined. All right, another 5 minerals. And as we keep sort of doing this, as we're sort of imagining our drone sitting there, we're starting to see our money begin piling up. And then, if it's been there for like, I don't know, a minute or two, suddenly you have like more fingers than you know how to multiply by 5, right? It's a lot of minerals lost. So this I actually don't particularly like quite a bit. I'm not the biggest fan of this sort of thing. I'm going to briefly take a little bit of a pause because there are concerns of lag going on. I'm just going to check with my admins because these are quite important points. Is it working properly? Occasionally this occurs where for some reason the internet decides, no daily going to happen today. Oh, it looks like no lag. Okay, yeah, some people who have lag just let it kind of hang and it'll end up being fine. Sincere apologies to the archive viewers. I will get right back to the education aid. So yeah, I definitely do not like this little guy being here too much. Because, for instance, notice that the spawning pool is done. When I did the build, I had enough money to build a Roach Warren and a Queen and an Overlord. Here we're seeing Shotomun not have enough money to do that. He's getting this extractor. Looks like he did an extractor trick to be able to produce stuff. I don't actually mind that too much. That seems absolutely fine. But we're noticing, wow, no Roach Warren. Okay, well, he's going to try to get it eventually. Oh no, there were some Zerglings coming. Oh gosh, I see him on the mini-map. Okay, going to make the Roach Warren. Great building placement again, so that part is fantastic. Look at how closed off this area is. Man, if our Queen and Roaches are back there, that's going to be great. Let's watch the way that this game ends up panning out for Shotomun. Let's go ahead and check that out. He sees the Zerglings sprinting up, so he goes, oh my gosh, I have to build spine crawlers. And here we see the Roach Warren finally finishing. Everything ends up falling. My goodness, what went wrong? Let's go ahead and do a little bit of analysis without our overlay here, as we see the game is very close to ending. So right when that pool finishes, bam! We're at 3 minutes and 11 seconds. We can see the Roach Warren takes 55 seconds to build, which means around the 4-minute mark, we would have had a finished Roach Warren. If we'd started that right away, we would have had a finished Roach Warren now. We would have had it finished. And imagine our 2 Zerglings here and our Queen at the backside. How long does a Roach take to build? Well, once some larva pops up, once some larva ends up showing its ugly face, once some larva ends up popping up, we see it only takes 27 seconds. So considering that our Roach Warren would have been done at the 4-minute and a little bit mark, and then another 30 seconds, I mean, we would have had roaches out by 4 minutes and about 35 seconds. 4 minutes and 35 seconds is when we would have had roaches. 2 roaches and a Queen placed behind all those buildings, it holds that off. You'll hold it off absolutely, totally, effectively. No problem at all. You know what? As a matter of fact, if you actually delayed that spawning pool a little bit, because we did see our hero do it a little early in this game. If he delayed it, still would have been up almost in time. Your queen and 2 zerglings would have had to do a little bit of fighting. Maybe your drones do a little bit of nibbling. Your roaches pop up, blast those zerglings, and you're done. You're finished. No problem whatsoever. And that's pretty important to note because a lot of people will conclude here, oh gosh, I guess I need a spine crawler a little bit earlier. I guess I need to control it a little bit better. We're actually today gonna see much later on a brilliant example of that being held off. A little bit later on. First, I want to focus a little bit more on losing. So we're going to go to these early game things. Which one? One of these was really good. Oh, no, that's right. That was the 1.1.3 replay. Not loading that one. I would ideally not prefer to crash the whole thing. So here's Sacrifice, the enemy here. Doing a nice little beneficial move, not mining at the start of the game. Here's Duo. Here's our hero. I'm actually leaving the replay bar here. As much as I love my branding right there, I'm going to go ahead and leave it up so we can sort of see some timing. We're going to see people continue to try to execute this build. There's a spawning pool going down. Now, I'm focusing mostly on staying alive in the early game, not so much on the execution of the build. That's kind of what I want the focus to be, but I still want you to know, pool's going down before our gas. When I did the build, I went gas and then pool. That's kind of important. Why? Because our goal, our playground, is the lair. That's what we're doing. Lair is playground, doing all the lair tech. Mutas, infestors, overseers, roaches with speed, gas-related things. We want our gas early. Getting the pool early doesn't satisfy our goal as well. Always make sure your goal is the thing you're trying to satisfy. Make sure your goal is not, I really, really don't want to die. Because then you'll convince yourself to 6 pool for defense every game. Because that's the easiest way not to die to a rush, right? Isn't that sounding ridiculous? You want to make sure that your build satisfies your goal, not your fear of not dying. Sorry, I didn't have dinner before the show. Just going to chew on some beans. So this, to me, doesn't satisfy our goal as well as gas pool. It's not atrocious by any means. But here, look at Xel'Naga Caverns. Small, tight little space. You can actually move that down a little bit and have an almost complete wall off. Not even queens can fit through there. Okay. We do see, yep, there's the pool finishing right now. And here comes the amazing timing. Yep. Goes down immediately. Roach Warren goes down again. Look, little tiny hole, little tiny hole. These can actually be smaller holes. You can bring this in closer. You can bring this in closer. For the record, note that this spawning pool is done. And these Zerglings are only just now finishing. No wonder Day 9 only suggested you build 1 set of Zerglings and a Queen. If these just finished, it's going to take a long time for them to get to our base. Part of the reason why the build works. Notice that there's a little bit of hang up with the fact that we don't quite have enough stuff. We don't quite have enough money. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue. Again, this whole focus is let's watch the early game. Alright, great! Duo's getting a gas at a pretty reasonable time, pretty fast. Come on, Duo, vomit your larvae! Alright, and here we have some roaches coming up. Alright, cool. Now, let's actually watch this game. Let's actually watch this game from Duo's point of view. Right, let's watch it from Duo's point of view. And we're going to think about what could have possibly gone wrong here. Again, we're noticing he's not really building a lair. He's not putting things in. But watch what unusual little thing happens. Oh my gosh, all drones and Zerglings going down right now. And it looks like Sacrifice is going to be able to maybe barely break it. We're kind of seeing that that was a nice little choke point there. Didn't quite work out as planned. Alright. And, well, it looks like we almost held it off. Ugh. And again, oops, I don't want to quit the replay. Our question is, what did we do wrong? We want to do as few adjustments as possible. This is where we don't want to do anything drastic. We don't want to do anything drastic. It is so important that if your opening is satisfying your eventual goal, that you try not to change the opening so much. You try to keep it as static and fixed in place as possible. That is probably the biggest mistake I see people do. They have a good goal. They have a noble intention in their heart of how to succeed in this game. But they mess up the opening. So let's go ahead and watch. How can we do as little of an adjustment as possible? As little of an adjustment as possible. Well, this is what I'm seeing. If I'm Duo, I'm going to go here and back to my base. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to go back to my base. Overlord's hotkey is 1. Hatch's hotkey is 5. I can just bounce back and forth between our hotkeys. Well, he's not leaving his base. Alright, cool. I'm going to make my 2 roaches. He's not leaving his base. Okay, cool. I'm going to make, I guess, more stuff. At least I should be. Alright, he's not leaving his base. Alright, cool. Wait a minute. Okay, wow. Yeah, if I'm watching the mini-map, let's actually do some timing. I have seen the push start. Do I have enough time to respond? Well, how long does it take to get to my base? A little over 30 seconds. Plenty of time to have built another round of roaches. Plenty of time to have gotten a whole bunch more roaches out. And notice that its 2 overlords are getting constructed. A little bit of a bump there. Accidentally forgetting the overlord, not watching the minimap. I assure you that when I do this build, and you do this build cleanly, when you see a play like that coming, you rejoice. You say, thank God he's doing that, because I can defend that 100% of the time. So notice that my adjustment was not get Roach Warren earlier, get a blind spine crawler earlier. My solution is, let's make this spawning pool pushed in a little tighter. Let's make this Roach Warren pushed in a little tighter. And let's watch my mini-map more. Almost a negligible change. Let's see the way it looks when well executed, right? Let's see a very, very well executed, tightly planted opening. So it was this amazingly executed game by Nuke Noodles. Nuke Noodles, I am so proud of you for having played this game out so well. Now, I'm actually going to leave this little APM thing open, because Nuke Noodles ain't your Korean Ultra Pro in terms of APM, but just does this amazingly. I always like to reference APMs because new players can become intimidated by the rate at which these pros are playing and not realize that if you want to execute your opening properly, it's not so bad. So, again, I'm not a fan of getting this spawning pool up so early. Sure, I could say all the stuff like, ooh, it's scrap station, long distances. Personally, I'm actually ignoring the map with a lot of my analysis. I'm just saying I want my build. I want to get to layer because layer is my playground, so I'm going to get my gas a little bit earlier. But look at that nice, tight placement, completely closing off this entrance. Cool. Watch how building placement becomes a big effect. Here, I'm going to cover this up because the time length of the game is not important. Notice that both players kind of get their pool done at the same time. And wow, look at Nuke Noodle's really tight building placement. Look at that small little gap there. That is so great. Extractor going down. Queen incoming. The queen was a little delayed because we did get our hatch a touch too early. Could have gotten it a little bit later. Should have gotten it around 14 if we want to be able to afford all our junk. And a layer's coming up pretty darn quickly. Look at these lings that are only just now able to make their way across the map. This is great. This is fantastic. Now, one error that I'm sure everyone's seeing, all right? Everyone, what's the error that we see? What is it? What is it? Come on. All right, I'm going to let you think here. And while you think, I'm going to eat a little bit. I would call this a glaring error. I would call this an egregious error because that's a word I had to learn for the SATs that I've never used in real life. There it is. That's the error. What the hell is she doing in the most vulnerable location in the entire base? She should be here. Or here. Should be very, 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 very far back planted. Let's go back to the Nuke Noodles cam. Notice his 2 Zerglings at the outset. Could have been used for defense. He's just sort of using them to spot. His APM is not high. It's at 40. So, oh goodness. So Nuke Noodles, who's still getting his layer tech up, sort of realizes, oh man, there's some Zerglings coming. So he makes a good set of roaches. And this is what I like about this build. It's intuitive. Oh no, Zergling's coming. I make roaches. Oh no, no Zergling's coming. He's making only drones. All right, cool, I'll make some drones. Nothing wrong with this. Very, 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 very easy. All right, so his layer finished. He can now use the layer as his playground, right? Right now we're only thinking about staying alive. Okay, now this is not... Now this was a little bit butchered. We can actually have all our roaches scoot in here. We can scoot them inward. Scoot the roaches back up into here. But even then, as we speed this up, the Zerg's going to come in with a massive amount of Zerglings in a moment here. And notice that these roaches were caught off guard. A lot of roaches died because they were out of position. But now, watch what happens to the queen. Again, here's a vulnerability with the queen. Queen just gets taken out. But notice this roach here and these roaches here. they're able to take a lot of damage, and it's still really hard for the Zerglings to really be able to get in there. This is a very, very difficult time. And hey, look, you know, there's even like a drone coming out. And look how much time we're getting. Hey, and now the Zerglings are finally eking their way through. And a couple more roaches pop up. And we saw that Nuke Noodles really hardly took any damage. He's going to lose a few drones. He lost his queen, but he held that off marvelously. And he has a Spire, and his layer's done, and he has a decent drone count, and he has some roaches. If you just place your stuff on the inside lip with good building placement, you will piss off Ling Bane Linging players so much you will beg to be against a Ling Bane Linging player because your building placement is Gosu times 2. So now comes this replay, actually, is one we're going to begin with, going into the next little phase of this. The next phase is, okay, we now know how to stay alive. How do we stay alive with a good, well-timed opening where we don't get our pool too fast? We use really good building placement. We get some roaches. We watch our mini map a lot. We make sure to churn out some extra drones. What a great opening we have. And people should memorize their openings. Again, make sure you memorize your opening, the one that you found was the best. Like, for instance, I like getting my second gas around 20. You might like getting it around 25. Make sure it is your opening. But yeah, you memorize your opening. You have an optimal way to execute the outset of the game. Cool. So now comes part 2. This is how you really have to think about all build orders. How do I get to what I want to do? And then how did I do that? So our opening was how did we get here? And now that we're at the layer tech, where our layer is our playground, now let's start thinking about some decision making. Alright, cool. So, you're Nuke Noodles. You lost a little bit at the start of the game. You're not feeling too delighted about that. But you see no creep. You see he's not expanded. Okay, we're going to get some... looks like we have our Spire up. We're going to get some Mutalisks. Now, let's think about our options here. I'm going to list them. We could get Roach Speed. There it is right there. We could get a Spire to build us some Mutalisks. We can actually do something like build 3 Mutalisks and then completely cut Mutalisk production. We could do something like that. By the way, again, watch these Zerglings try to make their way in. No way to penetrate. As a matter of fact, I prefer this Spire to be placed right there because you really, really constrict movement. But look at these Zerglings doing nothing. No damage. Nada, nada, nada. Ain't that cool? Oh, I bet you'll never want to block your ramp ever again. You're going to want to hide back here. Although you probably should block your ramp. Do we want to be getting some Overseers? Do we want to be doing that? And this will actually take a couple of games to do. Looks like there's the Overseer by Arisen, giving him the good old Contaminate. So it's really important that you do this sort of thing where you say, now what of my options is best? Well, in my eyes, we just held off a player who did some sort of huge pressure, right? He did some huge pressure with Lings and Banelings. So he's probably not going to have a lot of tech to defend against our air. I like that a lot. If someone, for instance, was going for a big Roach play, I would kind of like to get Overseers to mess with their hatch, so that way I can stay alive. I don't want him out-roaching me. If I wanted to go... One of my favorite combos with this build is you get a couple of Mutalisks, 5 or 6, and immediately get Roach Speed. And then push him for an attack. Very, 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 very easy. It messes with him a little bit. So let's go ahead and watch in action. So at this point, that's actually probably what I would want to do. Is I'd want to get Mutalisks to mess with him. I'd want to begin getting Roach Speed, and then I'd want to expand. Oh my goodness, more Zerglings going to come in. More Zerglings going to do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So here comes some of this later stage decision making. Okay, it looks like Nuke Noodles is going for a burrow. The reason I would go for a burrow is either because I'm terrified of dying and want to use burrow micro, or because I really want to go attack him early. And we see the burrow plus speed upgrade. So I would say that Nuke Noodles is going to be going for an attack early. I do think that these Mutalisks are going to have to be a little more aggressive. But if we go to the Everyman cam, we see, wow, 2 queens have been constructed. A lot of Hydralisks out right now. Oh, baby, roaches, smash Hydralisks. That's great news. This is exactly why I love this play with this build. Get some Mutalisks, do a little bit of damage like this. My opponent maybe makes some Hydras. I proceed to kill off those Hydras. In this game, Nuke Noodles is actually doing way more damage than he actually should. But you know what? When the Hydros do reveal themselves, you have the delight of letting your roaches get in there and kill it all off. Now let's start to ask the question, what is Nuke Noodles not doing right here? What is Nuke Noodles not doing properly? So, often what players will do is they will wait for a big key thing to allow them to attack, right? So, for instance, a player will be like, I'm going to wait till I have burrow speed movement before I attack. I'm going to wait until I have a ghost with EMP, and then I will attack. I'm going to wait till I have a Colossus with range, and then I'll attack. Now, in general, that sort of line of reasoning is okay. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with attacking when you get a ghost. There's nothing wrong with attacking when you get a Colossus. But the most important idea for the silver and gold and bronze level players to get is that sometimes just having a decent amount of assorted units is a good time to attack. 15 roaches. Why 15? I don't know, because it kind of seems like a lot. If you have 15 roaches in speed, go frickin' attack him if he's vulnerable. In this style of play, in this build, if Zerg went ahead and made, 10, 15, 20 roaches in this particular spot, Nuke Noodles could attack and just win. There was no fancy, burrow speed needed. There was no Infestor plus Hydra combo. It was just raw grunt power blasting the way in for the win. So right now what concerns me is I'm watching Nuke Noodles and I'm like, why aren't you just attacking and winning? Because it's so important that you seize those sorts of opportunities as they arise. As we see, Nuke Noodles is in an almost unlosable situation. He's going to expand. He's going to lose his queen for the third time in this game. Whoopsie daisies. Oh, a little bit of unburrow. Picking things off again. You'll note that part of this is because Nuke Noodles just doesn't really have the APM for it. But that's fine. We still want to benchmark ourselves against perfection. So that way we can go ahead and reach for that. The perfect play would be to look at his base and go, oh, he has that many Hydras and I have 15 roaches. Alright, cool. I guess I'll just go kill him. Very, very, very good stuff. Very good stuff. Want to just make sure that we do that. So, I'm actually going to quit this game because it's not important if Nuke Noodles wins or loses. The important thing is that his opening was pretty well executed. Some clear bumps here and there. Needed to play a little more secure, but overall, because of that building placement, it held off that early game. And now that we saw one example there of kind of how to think about this playground of the mid game, because again, if that's our whole goal, we want to make sure that we are thinking within our goal. Let's go ahead and look at some late games things. Which one did we want to look at? Yeah, let's go ahead and look at this one. Let's look at this one. Newbie Tuesday got Ruffle Stomped. I love it when people just submit games totally embracing losses. That is exactly the way to think. That is the exact correct way to think. Totally fine to kind of like even be teasing of yourself like, wow, did I ever figure out the best way to lose that game? The double extractor trick, which I actually like quite a bit. Don't know if it's good or not. Do it like every now and again because I kind of feel like it. Alright, now one thing I'm immediately noticing, oh man, Borlak, the enemy, went for a pretty early pool. Meanwhile, Dynamite went for a 16 gas and a 15 pool. Again, you can be a little tighter with the placement. Try to be tighter. But man, is that economically focused. Let's see what the results are of that. Man, this is so far going great. I love that delay a little bit. We don't need to rush for anything. We just kind of eventually need it. Hey, look at that. Pool finish. We can get a Roach Warren. We can get a Queen. And we can make some stuff. Alright, cool. So Roach Warren timing is actually quite late. It's quite late. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, pretty late. If you think to yourself, roaches take 27 seconds to build, and my roaches will pop up just in time. If I am 15 seconds behind, I'm fucking dead, right? You want to make sure that you have that crisp, clean execution. Very, very smooth. Don't need any APM hardly at all to execute those early structures. So we're seeing, it looks like 2 lings pop out from Dynamite. Good, good. Again, this needs to be tighter. Bring it in a little bit tighter. Bring it in a little bit tighter. But, oh, wow, look at that. Going for the second extractor early. I love that. That coincides with our build. And this is a pretty good opening to satisfy that. And here comes the hatch. All right, we're getting some roaches. Kind of dislike that he has them planted here. But let's actually look at what Dynamite is seeing. Well, he has some Zerglings outside the front. Okay, he sees some roaches coming. He sees some guys attacking his back. Alright, now if we look at the every cam, we see that Borlak is just one basing it hard. Taking another expansion, kind of has a good amount of roaches. So let's go back to the Dynamite cam. So what we see Dynamite doing is he's getting this speed upgrade, right? He's getting the Roach speed upgrade. Very cool. What would you do? What would you do at the layer tech? What would you do at the layer tech now? Again, the whole point of our build now is that if the layer is the playground, how are we going to play in it? How are we going to use our fast layer to help us win this game? Do I want to get a Spire? Do I think Infestors would be the best choice? Should I get Roach Speed? Should I get Roach Burrow? Should I get Overseers? Let's see. Yeah. Well, in my eyes, if I'm about to get attacked, I see a bunch of Zerglings at my back. I see a bunch of Roaches that were in the middle of the map. If I feel like I'm about to get attacked, I'm not going to go for a Spire. I'll probably die before my Spire gets up. You might say to yourself, Day 9, how would I know that? Because you tried it once and you got killed. And then you go, oh, now I know. And maybe you thought to yourself, well, I'm going to be stubborn. I'm going to try 3 more times. You tried 3 more times, got smashed. That's fine, right? That's fine. Then you now definitively know, aha, clearly that's not going to work. And, running a little low on time. That's fine. It might last a little longer. So you clearly know the Spire isn't the case. What else? What would be really good against a player who's trying to kill us? There's always 2 things that I ask myself. If I'm being attacked, how do I not die? And how do I put pressure back on him? I like, in this circumstance, getting Roach Burrow and making a lot of Roaches. So that way I can do Burrow, Unburrow, Micro. It helps keep me alive. And then getting an Overseer so I can just totally contaminate him. Oh, so this is putting pressure back on him. Right? Very easy to do that. All my Roaches are back here for defense with Burrow. All my Overseers are out there gooping up his main. And then I'll eventually get my Roach speed and pushing for a kill. Cool. I kind of like that. That seems like a pretty reasonable choice to me. So I honestly think that Dynamite did a fantastic job getting to this point. Maybe want to do a little tighter placement. Maybe put some guys on the inside. But this is perfect. This is great. Dynamite, making more Roaches. Good. I like that. But here's a choice that I didn't like as much. Look at the Hydralisk Den coming up. This is sometimes an option that you want to go for. But here's often the danger of going for something like Hydras that are sort of weak to this early Roach push. Look at this. Borlock basically did what we were worried about, the big Roach attack. Hydras die pretty darn quickly to this Roach push. Pretty darn quickly. In general, Hydras die fast to Roaches. And there we see Dynamite. It looks like he's going to be suffering an early loss, but I would actually label that as a later stage game loss. That was not a loss because of execution. That was a loss because we got to our little playground that is our layer tech, because again, that was the point of our whole build. He just made the wrong decision. So cool. You know what? This was a great game for Dynamite, because now he can look at it and say, I didn't mess up in the early game, and then I chose Hydras. I better not do that. I want to continue to execute well in the early game, but I don't want to mess it up by making Hydralisks. There you go. And maybe next time he'll get Roach Burrow. Maybe he'll make a lot more Roaches. Cool. Also, something to note with this layer is my playground thing, you want to be pretty damn aggressive, right? You want to be messing with him fast with Overseers. You want to be messing with him fast with Roaches with speed. You want to be messing with him fast with Mutalisks. You want to get the thing in his face kind of early and manipulate him in the best way possible. If you want to early expand and get a whole bunch of resources, sure, play reactionary and play all, ooh, I want to stay alive, but this lets you kind of bring the noise fast, and I like that. I like that quite a bit. Let's look at another instance of an issue that happened with the later game stages. We'll actually look at exactly what I just got done saying. And here's a huge issue that a lot of people do when they end up opening with a build that they haven't done very much. They get all passive. They get all, ooh, I'm not going to attack at all. Here's Shady Dealer. He is the hero executing this build. Here's Basher, who's doing the double gas trick, which I love, but he is not the hero today. We're going to see Shady Dealer. Yeah! Oh, look at that placement. Love that placement. Love that timing. 15 Extractor, 14 Pool. Continuing to make drones, making them up to 16, then getting an Overlord. This so far is actually flawless copying of what I did. Wow! That's a great placement for a Roach Warren. I love that placement for a Roach Warren. Actually, skipping the Zergling. Why is that okay? Well, just because he saw into the other guy's base and he knows he's going to be alright. I'm actually going to ignore the opponent because you know what, getting a Spine Crawler this early on is actually quite bad. But that's fine, because we're looking at Shady Dealer and the decisions he makes when he's in this situation. We're going to go to the Shady Dealer cam now. Alright, cool, he's making 2 Zerglings. Great. Making 2 Zerglings kind of like we normally do. Oops, Queen not on that inside edge. Kind of want to put that there. Getting some roaches out. The Extractor, that's later than I normally get. That's fine. Maybe Shady Dealer likes this stylistically a little bit more. Still want that Queen on the inside edge. And once you get around 3 or 4 or 5 roaches, then I generally go conquer my ramp. I don't quite go there yet. For some reason, the 26 of 26 Overlord always catches everybody, so make sure that you don't end up having that happen to you. So here comes a point where we suddenly need a little bit of information. We have our layer tech. We've seen him get a pool. We haven't really seen much else. We see him not attacking. Would be kind of cool if we had some Zerglings poke at his front. Maybe see if he has speed yet. Get a sense of that sort of push that's coming. It's kind of hard to play a little bit in the dark. So again, what would you do? Would you go for the Mutalisks and try to do the Mutalisk into Speed Roach play? Would you go for Overseer plus Speed Roach? Would you go for Burrow plus Speed Roach? Would you go for Hydralisk or Infestors? Something like that. You want to just ask yourself the same question as before. If my playground is to do all these other things, I need to figure out how I want to be playing. And a lot of builds kind of have this playgroundness to it, you know, where you'll have something like, okay, well, I'm going to be harassing the Protoss with Banshees and drops as I expand. That's going to be my overall goal. So at all points in the game, you should say, is expanding the best here? Is harassing the best here? Is dropping the best here? Is doing a combination of those two the best? Like, which one is ideal? Just make sure you have some structure. And then if your opening is good, you'll have a very easy time making those choices. Because right now, Shady Dealer can choose to do any of those things that he wants. He didn't quite have enough gas for the Spire because this second Geyser was a little bit late. And it looks like, oh, he's going for Burrow and Speed. Cool. Looks like he's going for a little bit of early aggression. Would love to have seen a little bit more poking. He does know that there's no expansion. So you know what? Since he knows that there's no base here, why is it smart to go Roach, Speed, and Burrow? Because I can both defend against a one-base attack, and I can attack him because I'm doing a strong one-base play. Fast Speed Burrow Roaches. And hell, I can even throw in an Overseer there. But now here comes a little bit of a funky decision-making. Here comes the double evolution chamber. And it looks like indeed there's some speed zerglings being made by Basher. He is going for something absolutely insane that I'm not even going to worry about. But what worried me a lot when I saw this is suddenly I'm feeling concerned. If you do a one-base play, you got to mess with him pretty hard with your one base. Otherwise, you're just being passive and you're not collecting additional resources. You want to be doing junk with your one base. It's not good to, for instance, get speed really fast and burrow really fast and then not use them at all. It's often a pretty abstract concept to a lot of newer players, the idea of, well, maybe this is a good time to put pressure because it's a 2-base versus 3-base situation, therefore blah, blah, blah. That's honestly pretty hard. A lot of you new players might even feel me say, you know, oh, if you one-base, you want to put pressure on them. And you'll think, why? Why? I don't quite understand why I would want to do that. The easiest way to state it is exactly what I said earlier. Why get really fast Roach speed? And why get really fast Burrow if you're not going to use them really fast? Don't rush. It's like 6 pooling and then just making drones. And then later on making a queen. You're kind of like, well, why are you getting your pool so early? There's no reason for it. Basically, as a new player, if you don't understand any abstract concepts, try to think in the following terms. Anytime you get Research X, try to use it as quickly after it's finished as possible. And that's a good way to sort of time your attacks. So right now, when I see this, I want to say something like, okay, your speed and your burrow just finished, so use it. Yeah, and now we're getting this tunneling clause. This is kind of what I mean, where people look for the special ability that makes them feel like they have permission to move out. In general, if you're getting a whole bunch of abilities, move out the instant that you get those abilities. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and then see here comes a Spire from Shady Dealer. Shady Dealer still is not really attacked, and okay, here's the defense coming up, and again, if we're getting kind of fast +1/+1, we should definitely be using it. And that's what we see Shady Dealer do. But at this point, I'm wondering things like, why is he pulling back here? Where's the expand? These sorts of things. You want to kind of be picking up the pace a little bit. So in terms of opening, Shady Dealer was dead on the money, but he needs to be a little more aggressive. Really needs to mess with his opponent a little more. If you're the one getting the fancier army faster, you're the one who gets to mess with him more for more reward. I'm going to look at a brilliantly executed game by someone who is not an extremely high-level player. Just as an example of a well-thought-out later stage of the game. So let's go ahead and go into that late. It's this one. Yeah, this is a great game. This is so great. This made me just delighted to see. So here's Kaina. He's the Day 9 Daily Viewer in the top left. In the bottom right, we see Simo. Keeping the APM up because Kaina is not a fast player. At any point in this game, if Kaina can do it, you can do it too. Kaina is going for, well, it looks like he made the pool first. And oh no, he's not getting his gas quite early. This is an execution issue. Execution issue. By the way, notice that he's building the extractor same side as the spawning pool. Very important because you want drones passing here in this area because those drones can help block this wall off. Simple but important. And here's the Roach Warren going down. This Roach Warren needs to be here. A little bit of early bumps, but you know what? No problem. We're seeing Simo, the opponent, is getting a very fast spine crawler. And here's Kaina coming up, getting the layer up. Now, the first half of this daily was all about staying alive, doing the right thing, making sure we do all this little stuff. This episode is about the decision-making that happens once we get to our playground, once we get to our layer tech. And watch what Kaina does. This is great. He scouts his opponent basically in defense mode. Hatchery, spine crawler, Roach Warren. Alright, some sort of one-base play with a delayed Roach Warren. What we're going to see Kaina do is a pretty simple plan. He's going to make a whole bunch of roaches, and he's going to mess with them via Overseer. And that way, Kaina will have a really strong push whenever he moves in here to attack. Looks like, you know, Simo is trying to take some stuff out here. Trying to do a little bit of damage. Yeah, look at that. Not quite getting the Glial Reconstitution upgrade yet, but look, there's an Overseer coming out right now. Kaina is now just building up. Oh, hey, look! He just finished the Overseer, right? Here's kind of the lesson I was saying earlier. When the Overseer just finishes, make sure you use it, which is exactly what we're going to see in a moment. Well, hey, he could have afforded the roach speed a little earlier. Why didn't he get that? Because he wasn't going to quite use it yet. It's fine to delay it a little bit. So watch this. Here comes Kaina. He's kind of moving around, wants to check around. Still making roaches. All right, and here he comes. All right, cool. He's gacking it up. And look at this fantastic timing. This is just lovely. This is so good. And hey, he starts moving out right as he gets roach speed. Perfect, perfect. Overseer still getting in position. He's using his layer tech to mess with his opponent. As you push, expand behind. Classic RTS logic. Could have been some more units out on the field. There isn't. There's just not. And look, Kaina is just going to come out here and do a lot of damage. What an amazing play. What I love to call a 1-2 punch. Do the little damage with this one, do the second half of damage with this one. And look, yep, using the layer tech as the playground. Notice that all of this is founded upon fast layer tech, really well-timed speed roach play. And of course, if for some reason he has a whole bunch of units, you retreat because you have the faster units, continuing to do the harassment. Hey, while all that was going on, I got an expansion up. Wow. Kaina could execute it a little better by keeping his money low, but for someone who has 56 APM, he's doing great. Hey, look, we even see the speed upgrade for Overlords. Looks like he really wants to be aggressive with that Overseer tech. That is just great news. This is so good. Here comes all the Spine Crawler tech. Yeah, great. Just awesome. Just so good. Look at this. Just constantly using just this really basic combo. There's the Evo Chamber to upgrade. Running in, getting out. Cool, we're using our Overlord speed now. And running right on in, doing a ton of damage. Fantastic. That is exactly the sort of thing that makes me happy. Now I'm going to show one more game. One more game. Because this was the most important lesson that I learned while watching through your games. Almost everybody didn't do the build in 235. The build in 235, which is the same build I showed you at the start, was pretty damn specific. I mean, pretty damn specific. 15 gas, 14 pool, 16 overlord, roach warren right when pool finishes, queen right when pool finishes, one set of zergling, gas on 20, layer right when queen finishes. I mean, that is well timed. But a lot of times what people did was something like what are located in my not the build folder. Let's just flip a coin here. Let's do this one. This one seems great. I was originally going to show both, but either one will do. Here's Solstice in the bottom right. Here's KSN in the top left. The one danger is I don't want you to get trapped in a situation where you are not doing the opening that that was prescribed, where you think that you're doing it. Because the opening is so important to execute properly, right? So here comes the extractor coming down. I actually hope I open up the right replay. Yeah, it looks like we're getting something approximately correct, right? Looks like this gas was a little early. I noticed one guy in the gas geyser. Now, let's immediately have a little lesson. I said that you want to have your idea, your just goal, your plan, which is layer tech is my playground. That's your general build and focus and strategy. And how does your opening satisfy that? Well, for me, I guess start getting my gas geysers really damn early. So why is this bad? Why is this bad? This one drone does not satisfy our build order goal at all. Not in the frickin' slightest. So what happens to KSN? What happens? I'm going to show you what ends up occurring. Hey, he ends up making the Roach Warren. Second gas goes down. Well, okay. I guess he maybe messed up the start of the build. That's fine. Alright, dum-da-dum-da-da. Roach Warren finishes. We start making some roaches. Seems good. Getting some more roaches. I'm starting to get leery at this point in the game because I'm like, man, if our whole focus is to get to layer tech and to mess with them with the layer tech, exactly as we saw in the previous game. Where's the layer tech? Okay, now it's kind of finally going down. Well, you'll notice that if we didn't have a lot of gas coming in early, and if we're not getting our layer really fast, it's kind of hard for us to really satisfy our goals so well. And then suddenly an expand is coming down by KSN. And this is a real danger with bumpily executed openings, is that they convince you of things that are untrue. A bumpily executed opening will make you think, maybe I can afford a hatch here. So I guess I'll do the day 9 build, and I'll build a hatch right as my thing's expanding, because that's how I'm going to use my layer tech. You shouldn't have that money. You should actually barely be able to stay alive and get your stuff out really fast. And what ends up happening is that, okay, we're at layer tech now, and there is, a spire going down, but because this layer was late, because we're spending all this money here, if we actually just look at Solstice's base, he just straight up went for an early expand. He's actually just getting ahead of us. In a sense, by not being focused and not doing our opening exactly and not sticking to the desired goals of our plan, by not doing that, we've essentially done a really shitty early expand, right? That is the best way to describe this. I mean, at this current game state, there's almost no advantage that we have by getting this layer so late and getting this expansion up. And now that our spire is almost done, we cannot even begin to afford much of anything. So sure, we end up throwing out a few guys as my StarCraft 2 freezes and crashes. Oh no, there it is. It's doing fine. Yeah, and that's really important. A lot of people convince themselves that they are doing the correct opening or the correct build order in their terms, when they're actually not. I actually very recently got an email from someone who said, Day 9, you have to help me out. I do the most basic Protoss opening in the world, and I cannot win. I do what everyone else does. I go 9 pylon, 13 gate, 14 assimilator, 16 cybernetics core, 16 pylon, 17 assimilator. And I remember reading that and thinking, no one does that. If you go for a 13 gateway, you're getting your core on 17 or 18. And you're getting your pylon before that. Something wrong is going on in there. And it has a lot to do with execution. You can convince yourself that what you're doing is the standard thing because you have repeated it so much. But you want to try to trim all that stuff down and always ask yourself, is the way I am opening helping to satisfy my eventual goal? So I hope that some of you will end up stealing this build order and using it. It's real easy. I've had some very sound, straightforward, simple wins against Zerg players who are honestly light years better than I am. But you know what? A good build's a good build. It's easy to execute it, and it has the wonderful benefit of you get to think and choose the way you want to play around in that wonderful playground that is your layer tech. So I'm going to take just one or two questions. I really, really have to freaking go. Death for Hire, is this chat one? Yeah, welcome to chat one. For any of you who are archive viewers, you gotta watch live, you gotta get into chat one, man. You gotta get into chat one. Oh, a lot of people try to get this against Terran and Protoss and sent me the replay. It's just against Zerg. It's just against Zerg. It's just against Zerg. Let's see here. So, Knocked Hem says, Dear Day 9, I'm a high diamond player, and you showed us this fast layer build. I've tested it several times, and I never really felt it was useful to get the layer early than usually. Any comments or ideas? First of all, there's nothing wrong with trusting your instinct and trusting your analysis. If I say, guys, I recommend this, and you say, I tried that recommendation, and you know what, I don't like it, it doesn't feel good. That's great news. Do follow that. That is good because it means you are starting to learn your own style and develop your own comfort, and you play this game for you, not for me. Don't worry about what I think, right? So if Knocked Hem, if that guy, if you Knocked Hem, think that, you don't really like that really ultra-fast layer, that sounds great. That sounds totally fine. If you are asking the question of, I really want it to feel fine, though, often what happens is you have some baggage from earlier ways of defending. So, for instance, if there's a method like let's say you're more of a person who relies on spine crawlers for defense. You don't really need layer tech for that. Or like for anti-air, if you're more of a queen person for anti-air defense instead of a hydra person, you don't really need the layer that fast. So a lot of times you'll look at a certain problem in your game and say, okay, I normally build another queen here for defense. And your brain says, well, if I'm building a queen here for defense, why the hell do I have this layer up? So what I generally like to say is, if it doesn't feel like it's being that useful, either just ditch it, or really try to exploit it. Like for me, I love getting 2 overseers stupidly fast with this style of play, because for a lot of those people who like their one base, roach, baneling, all-in stuff, you can suddenly cripple their production in a way that they are not used to. And they're kind of like, I guess I'll expand, and then I come out with a bunch of speed roaches. It's really, really, really fun. Or my ultra-fast Mutalist play. Oh my god, how many easy wins have I had with that one. Yeah, I really, really, really like that. So again, make sure you're exploiting it as hard as you can. I'm going to take one more question. Sorry, I need to go. People are saying, what about Dark Templar? Well, Zerg vs. Zerg, it's hard to get a lot of Dark Templar. Let's see here. Dum bum bup bum bum bup bum 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 ba-dum 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 ba-da-da-dum. Oh, here is now Parasite 01. I must apologize for saying this. You ask too many good damn questions. You got to ask some terrible questions. Because I scroll through the chat and I like to pick the ones that are like really good. And I like to have variety, but I'll still take this one from Parasite 01 because it's probably one of the most important questions you can ask. Parasite 01 says, several builds off the top of my head seem to be able to crush this opening, such as 10 pool into Roach. Or early expands. Actually, early expands are pretty easy to deal with this build, but I think the 10 pool into Roach, or even like 8 pools or something like that, will feel really hard to do this exact style. The reason I avoided all of those types of things is that in some circumstances, you have your goal, your little playground here. Sometimes you just gotta abandon that goal. There have been games I have played, where I was actually, not long ago, I was paired against this really awesome Zerg player. In game 1, he went for an early expand. I did my Muta into Roach, crushed. The next game, he went for kind of like a 1 base fast +1 attack Roach push on Delta Quadrant. And I got my Overseer so fast, I just kept contaminating him. And I also got Burrow really fast, so I just defended his +1 attack push, started getting +1 myself, and just contaminate, win! It was pretty straightforward. And in the third game, he 8-pooled me on Delta Quadrant. And I just had to abandon shit. I lost a good amount of drones, I built a Roach Warren, and I just played a different game. just played a different game. What I just described is one of the hardest things to go for. I strongly recommend you try to find every way to bend your situation back into whatever goal you initially had. Sometimes it's just not going to work out that way, and every so often you should stop and say, is it a mistake to really be trying to force my build here? Maybe I should just abandon ship and do something totally, totally different. So with that, that's going to wrap up this week's Newbie Tuesday. You know what? I'm going to announce next week's Newbie Tuesday tomorrow, just because it's been such a long daily. But either way, next week's Fun Day Monday. Very easy to say. You may only expand, or you may not expand to your natural. You can expand anywhere else, just not your natural. Submit those to Monday at day9.tv. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.